And we're live.
We are live and welcome Mesa Public Schools community. I'm Andy Forlis, the very proud and honored superintendent of this very amazing school district. Today we are talking about all the different programs that we have here in Mesa Public Schools. I've got two very important guests that I'm going to introduce to you. But I want to frame our conversation that we know that we are very committed to the Mesa Public School promise, and that is to ensure that every student is known by name, served by strength and need, so that they graduate ready for college, career, and community. So when we think about knowing our students by name, serving them by strength and need, we know that not all students live in the same way or learn in the same way. They're motivated by different ideas, different thoughts, different programming. And so we are very proud to say that in Mesa Public Schools, if you want it, we've got it. But oftentimes we get feedback that people don't know all of the things that we have. So today I have Eric Von Berg. He is our Director of Teaching and Learning. Eric is a graduate of Mesa Public Schools. He has been a teacher in our school district. He is now a Director of Teaching and Learning. His own children attend our schools. And so he's got a multitude of perspectives that he's going to be able to provide. I'm going to brag about him a little bit. That Eric won the very, very prestigious National Presidential Award for the excellence in mathematics and science teaching. Not too many of those around. So that is a well-deserved honor for the great work. And so he is definitely has a lot of expertise in the world of high quality programming and what that looks like for our students. And then we have Mrs. Casey Baxter. She is our principal at one of our Franklins. Franklin is our traditional school with a very specific philosophy that she'll be able to talk about. Casey is a native of Arizona, so she understands how education works in this state, and she's been a longtime principal, understanding what motivates families. And in fact, she just got in from doing tours of her school, taking parents around to see what a Franklin school looks like and feels like. So she is ready to answer all of your questions. So we're going to get started. We're going to watch our Facebook chat. And as questions come my way, we are going to do the very best job that we can to answer them. We allocate about 30 minutes. So we got about 28 minutes into our left in our conversation. So I'm going to start off. I'm going to start with Eric, and then Mrs. Baxter, if you don't mind adding to this. The question is, are all elementary schools in Mesa the same? And do they all offer the same opportunities? You want to start us off with that, Eric?
Sure. I would say that no, they're not all the same, but they do offer all the same awesome opportunity to get a good education. But there's a couple of specialty programs we might want to talk about. We have the International Baccalaureate program, which is going to be a inquiry approach, multicultural awareness, diversity with advanced studies. And that's at a couple of our schools at Summit Academy and Mesa Academy, and extends actually into high school. We have the Montessori program, which is going to be focused on the development of students' independence through their choice in the programming and learning plan that they have. And we actually have 3 sites there. We have Bush Elementary, Johnson Elementary, and Pomeroy Elementary. We have the DLI program, which is the dual language immersion program, and that's at Keller and Hermosa Vista for those people who are looking to try and learn Spanish and English alongside their academic core content. We have arts integrated education at Highland Arts. We have programming for homeschool students at Eagle Ridge to be able to get opportunities for enrichment and social interaction. And then we have distance learning programs for upper elementary kids right now, looking to expand in the future at the Mesa Distance Learning Program.
So wow, that seems like a plethora of options. And we are going to save the Franklin option for Mrs. Baxter. You want to talk to us a little bit about what families would expect from a Franklin school?
Absolutely, thank you. So Franklin's, we say that we are one school but 4 campuses because there are actually 4 campuses: Franklin at Alma, Franklin at Brimhall, Franklin East, and Franklin West. All four Franklins operate on the same curriculum and the same philosophy and structure. We are a parent choice school, and parents are actively involved in our school on a daily basis, which is partially how we are so successful, really built on that relationship with our families. What you'll find with us is that we have a back to basics approach. We really focus on instruction, what's happening in our classrooms and what students are learning, and we focus on specific skills and we target them as we go. We have an accelerated curriculum, so our students operate a year ahead, primarily in English language arts and mathematics. We also are a direct instruction model, so that's going to be where the teacher is the keeper of knowledge and is giving it directly to students till they achieve mastery in their application. It's very fast paced, would also be another thing I would say about Franklin. So if you have a student who really loves structure, who really loves knowing the rules and the expectations, and you want to be an active part of it, Franklin might be the place for you.
Excellent. And so as you can see, there's a focus on instruction, there's a focus on building relationships with our students, regardless of the program, but finding that right fit for every child. And we have many families that have their children in 4 different programs. Maybe one is in dual language, one is in a Montessori program, one is at a Franklin, and one might be in an IB program. But that's the beauty of Mesa Public Schools, all under one umbrella, with one calendar and one set of holidays, but you can have different programming. So here's a question that I'm going to jump to. Eric, this one is going to be for you. So my second grader has always done really well in school. How do I know if the gifted and talented program is for him or her?
Thank you. I think that I'm going to add a little bit more context to that question. I'm going to say that one of the things we do with the Gifted and Talented program is make sure that we adhere to that promise and provide students the services they need in their strength, whether they are identified for the Gifted and Talented program or not. Gifted and Talented teachers work with K-6 teachers to ensure that the enrichment that's necessary for students is provided, and they work in collaboration with the general education teacher. We do have a program that starts in 3rd grade. Well, we have a pull-out program that starts in 3rd grade. We have in-class services for K through 2. It's a pull-out program where students will spend a day with a gifted and talented certified and endorsed teacher to really work on some deeper reasoning and learning skills. And if you go to our website at mpsaz.org/GTP, it'll have a bunch of different characteristics you can look for in terms of a student who may qualify for the Gifted and Talented program. But even more so, we even take that out of your hands and we offer a universal screening. So every 2nd grader and 4th grader in Mesa Public Schools goes through a universal screening process to determine whether they have the qualifications for the Gifted and Talented program. So there's a bunch of resources out there. One of the things I would do is if you have specific questions, you can reach out to your classroom teacher or the Gifted and Talented teacher for your site.
Excellent. I think that oftentimes there's a misconception that you have to apply to be in the gifted program.
Absolutely. So so with the universal screenings, we've taken it out. All you have to do is attend school and you will get letters. And in fact, if you're a 2nd grader, if you're a parent of a 2nd grader right now, you should have either already received information or will be receiving it shortly for our 2nd grade screening window that's starting very soon.
Excellent. And I think this is a question that came in earlier. I think this one might be great for you, Mrs. Baxter. I believe in being involved in my child's school as much as possible. I also feel my child would benefit from a private-like environment, but without missing out on the resources and supports available in public schools. What would you recommend?
Well, I'm not going to say that I'm biased, but I am. So I personally would recommend a Franklin. You're going to get a private-like environment based on the parent involvement that we have and the structure of our schools, the way that we are set up, and the way that our program is organized. With our instructional minutes, that time is really focused on increasing student learning, building those independent learning skills, time management, not just meeting state standards, but exceeding them. And with parents with private schools, they tend to be more actively involved, and really that is a huge part of what Franklin does. We all have Franklin parent organizations where we all have boards, and parents are not only integral in creating our schools, but keeping us up and running. So parents are on our campus daily as an active part of the education system. But of course, private schools come with sometimes some different rules and expectations expectations. And so parents often choose Franklin because of the environment that they're looking for, not just the academic acceleration that they're going to receive, but also the other kind of parents and students that they're going to interact with when they when they choose a school of choice that is back to basics and really focused on that instructional core. There are still specials. We still have PE and music and library and all of the things. It's just what we do in our classrooms that looks a little bit different, and then how our parents are involved, whether that's parent-teacher conferences and the way that we facilitate that, or each Franklin runs through our parent organization numerous committees at our school when it was not a COVID year. So hopefully we're back to it next year. We have 99 committees that parents can serve on. Everything from being part of our big Franklin Festival to helping with track and field day. We celebrate Benjamin Franklin's birthday. That's our namesake. So there are so many ways for parents to be an active participant, volunteering in the classroom, supporting teachers, all kinds of things that we allow parents to do and encourage them to do to come to campus. When we're not in COVID land, of course, to be really an active part of the education for their student. Part of that actually too, Dr. Frolis, if I could mention, is to attend a Franklin, there's actually a different process because our schools are so incredibly different than a neighborhood school and the way that we structure our program. So if someone is interested in a Franklin, of course, the first step would be, yay, you're here. And then second, you could go to the website. If you continue to be interested, please contact a front office. What they're going to do is they're going to send you a link that has some additional information. They're going to seek some information from you, and you're going to get to watch a video. It's a little old school, if I'm honest, but it kind of shows what Franklin looks like, because we always sit in rows and columns. My school doesn't have whiteboards. Every classroom here has chalkboards. We still write in cursive starting in the second half of second grade. So there are some things that are very unique to the Franklin program. After you watch the video, your form's submitted, then you come to a principal talk. So we're doing those primarily virtual to keep everybody safe, but there are some principals who are doing them in person if a parent requests. And that's where you really get about a 30 to 60-minute up close with the principal to hear more specifics about the school, ask those one-on-one questions that you have, and really find out if it's the match for not only your child, but for your family. Because at the end of the day, Mesa Public Schools has many options, and we want you to pick the best one that's going to work for everyone in your home.
Excellent. Do you want to talk a little bit, Eric, about the Mesa Academy for Advanced Studies? That might be the same type of a pattern if somebody's looking for something a little different.
Absolutely. The Mesa Academy for Advanced Studies is going to be one of the two sites that we have in Mesa Public Schools that does the younger student age for the International Baccalaureate. And it starts in 4th grade, and it actually runs all the way up through 8th grade. So instead of if you were at a neighborhood school, when you would transition from one building from 6th grade into 7th grade, you actually stay in the same building. There's an application process that's involved there. There's a deadline of March 1st. That you can go on, and then they do put on a waiting list after that point in time. But the goal of the IB program is to develop a global awareness. They have a whole learner profile outlining the characteristics and behaviors and dispositions they're looking to instill in students. That kind of goes right along with the Mesa Public Schools Portrait of a Graduate. But it's a lot of advanced studies. They have opportunities to get into a rotation of classes similar to what you'll first experience in junior high, mathematics, and all the other core content areas, in addition to having the opportunity to learn a foreign language in Spanish or Chinese, other offerings with computer programming and those kinds of things at that school.
Excellent. So it gives kind of a different approach of the two.
Mm-hmm.
There's a question that came in about, are parents allowed on campus during COVID? And we know that we are not welcoming volunteers in during COVID time, but I think what you're hearing from both Mr. Von Berg and Mrs. Baxter is that that's our typical model. It's just that we're not able to honor it right now during COVID. So here's a question, and maybe this would be another great one for you, Eric. My child is interested in science. Do you have a STEM curriculum or STEM clubs?
Well, that's going to depend highly on the schools. Lots of schools have STEM curriculum based. There are schools that are developing it now. I know there's several of them. Highland Arts uses a STEM-based curriculum where they integrate the arts. We have some out, and escaping me all their names, and so I don't want to misspeak on anything. But there's most schools will have programming that's extracurricular programming or integrate STEM stuff through. We do a program here. Engineering is elementary, that a lot of schools have integrated those kind of components into their core content areas.
You know, and one of the things that I'm really proud of is the amount of robotics that is present in our beginning in our elementary schools. And it's something that you start to see. And when we talk about meeting the strengths and needs of our kids, some of our kids are amazing problem solvers, and they're experiencing with coding and with robotics. There's plenty of opportunity in Mesa Public Schools. I'm thinking of Porter Elementary and Patterson Elementary that are very focused on building up that STEM focus at their school, as we have many. Some of you that may not know, we have 85 schools in Mesa Public Schools. So we running through all of them, you hate to miss one. So you mentioned also, Eric, you mentioned a focus on the arts. We know that Highland Arts Elementary has received a lot of attention, not just locally, but nationally, around the great work that they're doing. So do you want to speak to Highland, or I'm happy to jump in on that if you'd like?
I can start, but I want to make sure to do it justice. And Highland Arts is a school, an elementary school that has a STEM focus. Well, it has an arts focus that complements their STEM programming, and so they talk about it as in STEAM. So science, technology, engineering, arts, and mathematics, which helps them. It kind of sets the stage of the explorations and inquiry that they do. And they receive extensive training on how to implement that with students. And they do some amazingly wonderful things about the appreciation of aesthetics and arts and how they integrate that into the normal programming that you would find at a neighborhood school.
You know, and I would just add on that Principal Cuddy and her team have a very strong commitment to providing multiple art experiences for their kids, from performing arts to musical arts to typical of what we would see within visual arts. And they've had strong partnerships with both the Lincoln Center and the Kennedy Center. So the level of understanding and the professionalism that has been brought to that program is really impressive. And it is a way of thinking, it's a way of being, and it's a way of kids being able to demonstrate what they know in new and different ways. I had an opportunity to jump into a virtual concert with a cellist last week that was happening at Highland, and pretty amazing how the kids could interact with the cellist and the questions that they were asking, and remarkable. And these were little guys. So it's great to see that progression as we move through. So we talked a little bit about the dual language immersion program. Eric, you talked about, here's a question that we received earlier. I'm bilingual and I would like my child to continue to be exposed to Spanish in elementary school. What options do we have, and does it cost anything?
Okay, so there are a couple of options. Let me see if I can tackle these one at a time. We have two schools that have a dual language immersion program from K all the way to 6. And what that means is in these programs, they will actually experience half of their day, they'll get instruction in Spanish, and then the other half of the day, they're going to get their instruction in English. It's a 50-50 model is what we call it. And it depends upon which school year you're in. Like, for example, maybe in first grade, mathematics is instructed in Spanish, but then in third grade, it's not. I don't know the exact details, but that's all on the website. And what they'll do is they'll progress through, and the goal is not only to acquire the language, but to acquire it at such a level of proficiency that by the time you get into junior high and high school, you are almost a incredibly proficient speaker in Spanish. And this also serves for students who are primarily Spanish speakers who can come in and be part of this program. So it works that they can get some instruction in their native language as they're learning English as well at these two schools. And so that's at Keller and at Hermosa Vista. And like I said, that is K6. That is a school within a school on both of those campuses. And then they also, both of those campuses provide what's called the Flex program, which is weekly instruction in conversational Spanish. And that, once again, is, I believe it's K5, K6 on both campuses, where they get instruction if they're not in the dual language program. And that is also provided at Summit Academy out on the west side. Mesa Academy also has opportunities to learn Spanish starting in 4th grade. It's a little bit different than the DLI and Flex program. That would be a daily or every other day, depending upon which grade level you were in, a class in instruction in Spanish.
Excellent. Thank you so much. And I would be remiss if I wouldn't give a shout out to Siren Elementary that has had a very strong focus on STEM education. And one of their specials or one of their rotations our kids go through is coding. So, and we have coding in many of our schools, but that one has a real specific focus. So you can see that we really trust our principals to understand what their community is interested in, what their kids are interested in, and they are designing programs and responding to them all of the time and always making improvements. We will have another Facebook Live coming up on secondary programs. So you'll hear about our career technical education at our high schools, and you'll hear much about our advanced placement capstone programs, as well as our different seals that we offer, seals of biliteracy, our service learning seals, and so on. So that will be coming another time. Today we're focusing on K-8. So we had a question on, well, what about those high schools? I'm looking at our time, and I am going to pose one more question that to both of you as educators, as you think about what providing opportunity to our students, what has been your experience, and where do you find kids to be the very most successful? So a family that says, I'm not sure about a specialized program, but what do I need to look for in a high quality school?
Casey,
I'll let you go first.
That's a $64 million question.
Okay, so I think as a parent, right? I mean, now, if we're honest, parents are consumers. They're looking for the school that matches their needs. And as Dr. Forlis alluded to earlier, that could be 4 different schools because every student is different. And in Mesa, that's the blessing of being a big district and having all of those resources, is that you really can meet the needs within your family all on one school calendar in one district. And so I think that knowing who your family is, what your belief system is, knowing how your children learn and thrive as individuals, and really looking at them to uplift them in a way that you are honoring what they are good at, because there are so many ways that we can build on that in schools, whether it is a science, whether it is they really need structure and a fast pacing, and then that's a Franklin, or maybe it's a Montessori and learning hands-on. I really think it's about being honest and honoring who everybody is as a student and as an individual learner, and really not saying it has to look this way. In Mesa, you really can find the school that's going to work for your student. And I think that there's a lot of power in that, not just as a learner, but as a parent, to be able to support and lift your child up in that. So I really think that knowing who you are and who your child is and finding that match. And what I would encourage all of you parents to do, and even if Franklin isn't your choice, I make this offer every time I do a parent talk. If you just reach out to a principal in a Mesa public school, we'll meet with you and talk with you, even if you're not going to pick our school, because we know the value that Mesa puts on an individual education. With our portrait of a graduate, what we're looking for with those specific skills and attributes, we can help you with our school or finding another school that maybe is going to fit the needs of your family and your student, and even put you in touch with another principal or a couple down the line. So I know that I speak on behalf of my colleagues for that at the end of the day, we know we have something for everybody. So for me, it's really about being true to who you are as a family, what your beliefs and values are, and then who your child is. And again, honoring that, not trying to shove them into something, because there really is something for every individual in Mesa, whatever that looks like. So that's my offer that I extend to you. And I don't know if I should offer for all of my colleagues, but I do, because they're good people. And so really, I think that's one of the things that I love most about Mesa Public Schools, is that we are not a one size fits all. We really are working to do what's best for every student. Part of that promise that the MPS promise is, knowing every student and serving their strengths. So I guess that's what I would encourage families.
Well, and you can certainly see why Mrs. Baxter is leading a school that is nominated to be a National Blue Ribbon School. So that is hot off the presses. That's new news and an amazing accomplishment. So I would like to congratulate you for that nomination, and to your staff and to your families. And thank you for your great advice. Okay, Eric, you're going to bring us home. What's your advice as a parent, as a graduate of Mesa Public Schools? What should our parents be looking for in a high quality school?
Well, I want to echo what Mrs. Baxter was saying and say that, when you look at, we're a large district, a lot of schools, a lot of different programming, and I think that you're going to be able to find what it is that works for you. But that kind of bedrock, the true north, if you will, that we have is that MPS promise and the portrait of a graduate and those essential skills and attitudes. And the question is not, are we going to be able to provide the services that are going to move us towards the fulfillment of that along with the academic standards? The question is really how and which way is going to best serve you and your child. And I can tell you, I didn't have as many choices when I was going through Mesa Public Schools. I mean, the amount of offerings have expanded so much. But what I can tell you as a parent, I have 2 kids in Mesa Public Schools, and in fact, they go to different schools. They're in different programs because they're different learners and they have different needs. And I will tell you that we have been incredibly pleased, and I know I'm biased being an employee of Mesa, but I'm also a consumer of Mesa, and we've been incredibly pleased with how amazing their experience has been and how much it has been able to be tailored to who they are. And in fact, we have some conversations around the dinner table when my younger daughter assumes that she's going to take the exact same direction as my older daughter. And we have lots of conversations, and you may or may not go that route because we have to figure out what's best for you. And I know we've spent a lot of time highlighting little programs here and there that are all throughout Mesa, but what I do want to say is if you go to any of our K-8 schools, you're going to find quality programming where people are going to be very responsive in their efforts to try and fulfill the Mesa promise for your child. And it may not have, a particular programming involved, but I think that as we are moving forward and as we have adopted the Mesa profile or portrait of a graduate, we are working with our programming to be able to handle and work with every single student. So I think my advice would be, and I've given this advice a number of times, find the neighborhood school and start there. And if you have some specific needs in programming, then exactly talk to the principal. We'll point you in the right direction to get the services that you need.
Wow, couldn't have said it better myself from both of you. I am so honored to be your colleague, and I thank you both for your time and for your dedication to Mesa Public Schools. As you are thinking about schooling for your children next year, rest assured your kids are in great hands with leaders like Eric and Casey. So I just want to say thank you. Thank you for joining us this afternoon, and have a wonderful rest of the evening. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.